world by sharing inspiring life experiences. With me today is a woman who faced cancer, abuse, poverty, and divorce, but she refused to be a victim. She calls herself the cancer dancer. As usual, we aim to educate, motivate, and inspire you. So grab your warm drinks and let's hit the ball rolling. Hello, Colby, and welcome to Podcast with Sheila.
Hi, Sheila. It's great to be here.
It's an honor to host you here today. You describe yourself as a cancer dancer rather than a survivor or a fighter. Can you share how this mindset shift changed your journey through breast cancer and beyond?
When you fight cancer, what you fight fights back. And to me, the word survivor sounds like you're hanging on by teeth and toenails. For me, a cancer dancer means you find out how graceful you can be under pressure, you avoid getting your toes stepped on, and you get off the dance floor in one piece. And so I have been a cancer dancer in my life 3 times.
Wow. Would you like to share that experience with us?
Sure. Um, the first time, well, you have to start it with the idea that I matured very early. From the time I was 11, I literally had a Dolly Parton figure, put a brunette wig on Dolly, and there I was, which is kind of hard to handle when you're in your early teens. But in 1989, when I was acting in New York, they found out that I had something called ductal carcinoma in situ. Basically, that means the cancer has not bought its ticket, investigated where to travel. It's just there. So there were 2 surgeries and radiation, which was interesting because I was doing off Broadway at the time. And radiation in 1989 was much more primitive than it is now. So it was difficult, but I survived it. In 2000, I got skin cancer from the radiation, dealt with that. So I still had them. They were misshapen, they were scarred, but I still looked like a girl. 18 months after I got married in 2002, they found a second primary, which takes the danger clock back to 0. But they said, okay, 3 strikes, you're out. We're taking them, we're taking the ovaries, and you're going from this Dolly Parton figure to a fat fire plug with permanent side effects. And there's nothing you can do about it. Just suck it up. We'll see you for surgery in 3 weeks. Now, did I go home and cry? Of course. I had just been married for 18 months. I had no idea what that was going to be like. But I knew that I had to find 3 reasons to be okay with it, and I didn't care how funny they sounded. The first reason was you don't have them, you can't get cancer there. The second reason was, and I don't know if this is simply American, but you don't get the top half slammed in the refrigerator door at the doctor's every year because that's what mammograms feel like. And third was implants means I'll have a young figure until I'm 93. Okay. So I had a 6-hour surgery, double mastectomy and reconstruction in Boston. Um, got out of the hospital in 3 days, shopped for a bathing suit in 5. It's coming up on 21 years and I'm still clean. This is what 70 looks like. It's not a, not only is it not a death sentence, it's not a death sentence to who you are either.
Yeah. How did all of that affect your life, especially your marriage?
I married my hero. Didn't know it when I did, but I did. Because his comment was, am I going to miss them? Yeah, they're gorgeous, but I married you, not them. Now, in my work as an intuitive counselor, I have had to deal with women who wake up in the recovery room finding divorce papers on their night table with a note, I married a whole woman, not you. I have dealt with women whose husbands see that as a license to cheat on them and say, well, it's your fault. My guy understood the for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, in marriage, is just that. Is this the marriage we thought we were going to have? No. Are we more in love now than we were the day we got married? Yes. Because we have worked on the marriage constantly, we understand that marriage, good marriages, are always a work in progress. How it changed how I look at myself. When you have that kind of a figure, to be honest, people don't care what's here. They don't care about your creativity. You're a sex object. And I bought into that thinking that's all I was worth. So, in a sense, my own soul said, we need to remove the problem if you can't get past it. People today look at me and just, I have a normal grandmotherly figure. They would never guess what I used to look like. And I have learned what I am worth without the looks, just the personality, just the creativity, just the smarts, just the heart. So, in that sense, it was a harsh gift, but it was a gift.
Mm. What were some of the lessons this experience taught you?
It taught me what I was really worth. It taught me compassion. It taught me to be far less competitive because you never know what's going on in somebody else's mind. In that sense, my personality at 70 is wildly different than it was at 50. But that's all right. I am a better person for it. There is nothing a client can bring to me that will scare me, upset me. There is always that heart-filled space inside me that says, how can I support you? Not how can I help you? How can I support you to my clients? And they're enormously grateful that there's never any judgment.
Yeah. I think you've been through serious experiences in your life, and I'll be happy for you to share how you've been able to deal with all of them. You faced breast cancer 3 times, 2 divorces, poverty, and abuse. Looking back, what was the hardest challenge, and how did you find strength to keep going?
My hardest challenge was actually my very dysfunctional childhood. I grew up with a mother who was an alcoholic cross addicted with barbiturates, who told me how wonderful she was and I didn't deserve her. And I believed that for a long time. It wasn't until I was an adult that I found the key to what had happened in my life. And that was when I was in first grade in just a New Jersey City public elementary school. They said, she is near genius level. You need to skip her 2 grades. She's a leader. Everyone loves her. She's the best student I've ever had. And my parents instead decided to put me into a Quaker school. You didn't have to be Quaker, but it was a private school at the same grade level. In those days, in the early 1960s, a gifted child who was not happy in class, who wasn't comfortable with her peers, they didn't say, does the child need a different background? They just said, she's the problem. And so instantly I went from the leader in class that everybody loved to the fat, four-eyed, because I had glasses, little Jewish kid that was bullied in class and the teachers hated because it was a Christian Quaker school. And in the early 60s, Jews were marginalized. So I was bullied. When I complained to my teachers, they said I was paranoid and I had to learn to get along with people. And basically, for the next 7 years until I went to high school, which again was public, thank God, um, I was taught that I was absolutely worthless, a disappointment to everybody, including my parents who told me that. And that set me up for an absolutely traumatic young adulthood. However, I knew that I had my own answers inside and I kept working on it constantly. Members of my family, they have done psychotherapy, they take antidepressants, all of that. I have done none of that. I believe in myself. I know that change is good. So I'm a cork. What do corks do? Corks float no matter how rough the water is. And it taught me that everything I'd learned as a child about myself was wrong. And that was the real breakthrough. That is also, again, why I listen to the pain of my clients and understand it.
Was that the reason why you chose a different path? Because as I read your bio, you came from a family of doctors and
Mhm.
people who worked in the medical field, but
Yes.
your
And my
journey is
father wanted me to be a lawyer. This is the 1960s. I was a rebel. I was a hippie. I was a writer. I was an actress. I could have stood on our dining room table, tap danced, and recited Shakespeare, and they wouldn't have seen who I am. So, in that sense, also, because my path was always different from everybody else in my family, I was the constant disappointment. I had to learn to live with that.
wow. That would be really, really difficult as a child learning to live with a lot of negative voices. How did you find positivity in all the negativity around you?
I wanted to survive. I had so much creativity, spark, life inside me that I fought to get it out. Um, I mean, I'm saying to this day, I still have to work on it. I didn't just get rid of it and life is perfect. I'm not a size 2 with a trust fund. I'm just me. But I've learned a lot more acceptance. And when you have self-acceptance, that makes change easier.
Yeah. Wow. In Clean Out Your Closet, Your Life Closet, you discuss clarity as a canvas for change. Can you give an example from your own life where gaining clarity led to a breakthrough moment?
When I found all those papers in my parents' belongings, which you don't remember things when you're a little kid, really. And all of a sudden, that was a moment of clarity. And I could continue to believe what they said about me or see the reality, which was I was basically gaslit. And I decided, no, I believe in myself. I know who that little girl was. And I rescued her from decades of trash and filth that they threw on her to cover her up. Bolt of lightning.
You mentioned the idea of living life as a tiny house. How can people shift their mindset to see the abundance they already have, even in tough times?
They have to look for gratitude moments.
Yeah.
Look, right now in the United States, it's terrifying. But for now, for today, there's food in the house. My husband and I are safe. There's enough food for the cats. I have friends and work. Other members of my family are multimillionaires. We have a tiny house in the middle of a hayfield in upstate New York, much less than they have. But to be honest, I'm happier than they are because I have learned the gratitude moment.
I like that bit about gratitude movement, and I practice it all the time.
Mhm,
And I see it as something that helps me power through because all the time I try to remember where I have come from and my struggles in life. As I was growing up, I would say that I had like a near to perfect life growing up.
mhm.
Now, the turbulence started right after my first degree when my whole life turned upside down. I'm the kind of person who would even know where my exam questions will be coming from. So before I write the paper, I know what questions I'm going to be answering. And as I'm studying, I know which areas of my notes to study.
Mhm.
So I grew up like that. Life came very easy for me. And I came out of the university with a first class. And I remember when I was writing my last paper, there was a mature student in my class who called me to the side and said, I had a dream about you and you were drowning. I never understood that dream until years later, after my first degree coming out of the uni. Life looked good. And I knew I was going to just sail through. I was just going to get married. Everything was in order, getting married, traveling to the US with the guy I was supposed to marry then. And all of a sudden, everything turned upside down. The marriage never came to pass. I never got a job to do. I struggled to find a job. And I know how difficult it became from there. And so many times I was at the point of suicide. I would say to myself, I don't want to live anymore. I just wanted it to end because I didn't see and I couldn't relate how I'd just come from a very good place to a very messy place where I
Mhm.
didn't know who I was. I couldn't find myself. I didn't know where my footing was going to be. It felt like I was a failure and it didn't make any sense. And I couldn't even make sense out of it until I met my current husband. He helped me navigate the path. I was
Mhm.
told I could never have children. Everything was negative at that time, but just meeting him alone turned things around. So sometimes when he does certain things, I sit down and I reflect a lot and I say, this was the man who stood by me when everybody lost hope in me, when everybody thought it was over for me, when even I thought it was over for me. He was the one who stood by me and held my hand and said, it'll be okay till today. So when I sit down, like you said, gratitude moment, I reflect and I'm grateful for every moment I've
Mhm.
enjoyed, even for those dark moments. I still am
Yes.
grateful for it because it shaped me. It made me a better person. Today, I go through certain things and I'm not shaken by it because I think I've seen worse moments. So that I appreciate the good times and the bad times, but then I hope for better times ahead. So I'm in total agreement with you when you talk about gratitude as a good thing for all of us to practice.
Yes. And you talked about the fact that your husband said those good positive things to you. I will share something that my husband taught me, and that is that 4 words trump 3 words. On the inside of my wedding ring is "I believe in you." And I feel that's more important than "I love you," because you can love someone and not believe in them. But when you believe in them, you absolutely love them.
Yeah.
So that's the 4 words that I use when I really wanna get through to somebody.
Wow. I like that. I like that. You challenge the idea of striving for perfection, saying that adaptability means perfection is always yours. Can you elaborate on this and how it has affected your life?
Sure. Um, when we say something has to be perfect, we beat ourselves up when it's not. We keep pushing to find the perfection. Where are the gratitude moments? You know, I'm grateful massively that the cancer is far in my rear view mirror, but the body is no longer perfect until I saw the good parts of it. We don't have a perfect marriage, but what it asks us to do is find the perfection within the marriage we have. That's the point. If you have an idea that perfection has to be X, this thing, you will always feel miserable because you didn't get there. We're human. But if you can accept that wherever you are is perfect for what you need, that's the way perfection works better. That's why I say how perfect destroys good.
Hmm. Wow, that's deep. Yeah. Many people see stress as a burden. How can we shift our perspective to view stress as a friend and a teacher instead?
There are all kinds of stress. There's good stress, that's called eustress, EUSTRESS. And what kind of stress is that? When you're about to walk into the final interview so you can nail that job. When I was about to go on stage when I was acting, even now when I'm lecturing in front of hundreds of people and I'm about to go on stage and grab the microphone, that's when inside you feel fizzy like champagne. That's good stress. Bad stress is when you overtax yourself, you say yes to things when you should say no, you deny yourself what you need, you always double think your answer before it comes out of your mouth. That's bad stress. But stress can help you see where you need to be kinder to yourself. And the 2 stressors that I say are great teachers are stress as the shot across the bow and stress is mission creep. Now, what are they? Stress, as the shot across the bow, is when you, through stress, do something to yourself that's so awful, you say, oh, Lord, I'm never going to do that again. And the example I use is being so caught up in my work at a garden event for our local village that I just grabbed a double helping of a very sweet, high sugar pastry, crammed it in my mouth, and then went back to work. All that sugar shot up my blood pressure, heart was hammering. So it's like, no, I'm never going to do that again. I don't care how stressed I am. I do not overdo that. Mission creep is the constant saying yes when you should say no. The example I use, a woman who loves to knit, every day after work, she sits, it relaxes her. And a friend says, could you make me some baby clothes for my niece? And you say, yeah, you're fine. And you're doing that. And then someone else sees the baby clothes and says, wow, these are gorgeous. Could you make a few for our local National Public Radio pledge drive? And when you get them done, the pledge drive people say, well, that's great. Now, can you make some more? But we want you to use the patterning and the yarn from our underwriters. And so you have more and more things you're expected to do. You don't have a right to decide how you're doing them. So what used to be wonderful has just become a chore.
Yeah.
That's why no is a fabulous idea. It just is.
Wow. So then we have to learn to say no.
Mhm.
That is
And it
something.
doesn't mean you're being nasty. It means you're taking care of yourself. Women are taught you must never say no.
Yeah.
Everybody else comes first, or you're bad. No, we're not. No, we're not. No, if a man says no, it's no. If a woman says no, whether it's to do something for her or on a date, people think no just means, well, push harder, she'll buckle. Mm-mm. No means no, and you stick to it.
Yeah. What practical advice would you give to someone who is trying to heal from past trauma whilst also building a new, fulfilling life?
Always ask yourself 3 questions. What are you X about? X being whatever your emotion is. The next question is, why am I X about that? And really go down the rabbit hole to see where these feelings come from. And if you catch yourself saying, I don't know, be kind to yourself and say, if you had to guess. Because when we guess, we're usually telling you what we think, but we take the guardrails off. And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that? What am I unhappy about? I just got told I have to have a mastectomy. Why am I unhappy about that? Because I don't know who I'm going to be and I'm scared. What do you think would happen if you stopped being scared? I might come up with some better ideas of how to handle it. How do you feel about that? I feel good. There you go. It's called stimulus, belief, response. What you believe about a situation will change your response.
Yeah. Yeah. I think today I just said that to myself. Um, exactly just like you said it. What you believe is what is going to happen.
Yes.
Something in that line.
Mhm.
Because I was thinking of something and all of a sudden here it was. So if you believe it, I don't know if there's a connection with energies or I don't know, but then it's like what you keep believing in inwardly, you naturally attract.
Mhm. It's a funny thing. If you buy a red Ford pickup, sit up, maybe you never noticed red Ford pickups on the road. But all of a sudden now, since you have one, you're noticing them.
Yeah.
Did you manifest more trucks? No, but you're aware of seeing them. So when you start believing in the good things, the abundant things, you start seeing them and bring them into your energy field, which creates more.
Wow. So that means that if you want to um, be happy, you have to attract things, do things that will attract joy and all of
Mhm.
that. So
Yes,
for somebody to wake up and feel down or feel like I'm not feeling it today is is what they are projecting from inside, and is that is what is drawing things that are not really going to give them joy.
that's when you say to yourself, today is the day I will be absolutely kind to myself.
Mm.
I really will. Because look, I've done stand-up comedy about you think a psychic's life is easy. So I've got a lot of good one-liners. But I explain to people that the universe is like a short order cook. He's not going to recommend, I don't think you want that, try this. Order right the first time. If you keep thinking, I know I can make enough money, but I don't see how. The universe here is thinks she can make enough money, but it never happens. Ordering. So think the best way. Think the best way. And always add or my highest and best at the end.
Wow.
It's
So
why when people say, my friend is sick, can I pray for her to get well? I said, well, there's healing and there's cures, and she doesn't always get a cure. Pray for her highest good, because that you'll always get correct.
mm. Your book encourages people to create their own transformation stories.
Mhm.
What are some key steps for someone who feels stuck and overwhelmed?
Number one, you're not the only one, darling. You're not getting it wrong from the get go. Number two, your life and your story is the important one. I can make suggestions, but you are the creator of your own life. Third, just a day at a time. It's not like I better get this right in 6 months. I am 70 and I have been working on this stuff for over half a century. And I still have days when I feel lower than an ant's belly, but I know it'll pass. So every day you wake up is a day to make a difference and make it better. That you hold on to.
Wow. You often say, I'm not special. You can do that. You can do what I do.
Mhm.
What's the one message you want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
That whole thing. People look at psychics, they look at authors, they look at actors, and they think, oh, well, they're so special. No, we've just had a certain life path. But, my nephew is as different from me as it's possible to be. He's a genius scientist in Boston, but he's still one of my best friends. Nothing is wrong with you, and nothing ever was. You can change how you feel about yourself and the world and anything in an instant. You get to decide how to live your life. Nobody else. That's it.
This wasn't part of my questions, but as you were talking, it came to mind. I
Yeah.
realized you're a reverend and
Mhm,
then you're a psychic.
mhm.
And what is the difference between being a psychic as in your own um, state as a reverend and a psychic, and then being a prophetess or a prophet?
Number one, I am a very practical psychic. Here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's it. I got through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. Yes, I do past lives, spirit guides, and talk to dead people, but it's what I do. It's a skill set. Reverend, my reverend is a non-denominational reverend.
Okay.
Um, because bluntly, it is much safer in many parts of the United States to be a reverend than not. They will immediately assume certain things about it that keep you safe. And the other is my whole belief system is God owns the grocery store and does not care if you come in through the deli section, floral, or health and beauty age, just get in there. Meaning, I don't care if you are Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, pagan, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. I really don't. I just need you to know somebody up there loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. That's it. After all of the things I've had to go through, I can't be an atheist because I do not believe I did it on my own. I think I had help.
Oh. So do you believe in God, the God above, or you believe in the universe, like people say?
All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That was when God, in whatever form, handed me my draft notice and said, you're working for me. And for all those who think, but, I just smile and say, try reading Acts chapter 2. Even such as I can do, you can do. What's the difference?
Yeah. So do you see people and you can tell what's next, what's going to happen to them next, or what's going to happen to them
I don't just look at them and do that. No, because they didn't invite me.
Yeah.
My spirit guides and I, there's an open and a closed sign upstairs. The whole point is I like to give people toolboxes. For instance, if you said, I'm starting a new business, how will it go? I'll tell you that's the wrong question, because what if I said it's going to fail? Where would you go? So I do multiple spreads, a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Now, the corporate job I had before I did this full time was an executive recruiter, placing people in six-figure jobs. So, yes, I'm using part of my left brain and part of my right. Why not? But you see, that gives you so many tools that you can take and with your free will, make your business what you want. Even the best of us are only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he doesn't do psychic fairs. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. So as you look at me now, I'm inviting you in because you said you don't go in if you're not invited. I'm
Mhm.
inviting you in. And is there anything you can tell me about myself?
I'm going to pull 3 cards. I am a certified tarot master. They're my favorite tool. And I'll tell you what they have to say.
Hmm.
Queen of Pentacles. You are always going to be the one who takes care of yourself financially. Always. Not only because you want that independence, but you can look at a puzzle from every way and you will find a way into the center. That's just who you are. Number 2, men have to be smart around you. I don't care. They can be the most handsome person in the world. If their brain is empty, you have no time for them. It's thanks a lot, but goodbye. Third, life is full of riches. For you, it's not just the money. That's what I would say about you. Does it ring true?
Spot on.
There you go.
You're spot on. You're spot on. All three, you are.
When you've been reading as long as I have, you tend to get it right.
My God. I think I'm excited. I was able to have this interview with you today. I'm streaming on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. And I see a few people have left messages here, but nothing. Somebody said I used to be a banker, but I lost interest. I don't know what the person is trying
That's
to
a
say.
joke. That's supposed to be a joke. Ha ha, interest.
Yeah, but I would say that would like to say massive, massive thank you, Kobe, for coming on podcast with Sheila today. I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to replay this again. This is going to be one of those interviews that I've done in the past that I keep going back to it to listen to it because I think that there's a lot to take home with me. So thank you very much for joining me today on podcast with Sheila.
It was a real pleasure, Sheila. Thank you.
Would like to say, if you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 128 of our podcast series, where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring life stories and experiences to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. Our prayer for you this week is that you become an advocate and a lover of peace. Until we meet again, have a brilliant day. Somebody just left something. Let us close our eyes and pray to Jesus and hope. Anyway, thank you very much, Ahmed, for joining us, and Kobe. Thank you so much for your time.
You are more than welcome, Sheila. Thank you for asking me.